And welcome back. Since 1972, BronxWorks has continued to improve individuals' lives and families, helping them in their economic and social well-being, as they're guided by the belief that people must be treated with dignity as well as respect. Now, that would be regardless of their present situation or even their past experiences. And joining us now to talk a little bit about the homeless crisis and the work that's going on, we're pleased to have the program director of the homeless outreach team at BronxWorks, Juan Rivera. And Juan, thank you for joining us. And I'll begin by asking the question about the homeless crisis as we are now navigating ourselves further out of this COVID pandemic, particularly in New York City. What can you tell us about how you're viewing homelessness in New York City?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me, Darren. I appreciate it. It's a pleasure to be here. As far as the homeless crisis, coming out of COVID, we're sort of thankful for that, obviously, because it did definitely impact our population in different ways. Fortunately, it really didn't impact the population in terms of people passing away. We really had, sort of that was like minimal impact for us, which was fortunate, thankfully. But it did impact folks in terms of how we provided the services and places they could go, and different situations that came up. But the homeless crisis, I hesitate, I guess, to call it a crisis. I feel like homelessness has been an issue for obviously a long time. I think that it, at different times it has a lot of eyes on it for different reasons. I think that the population on the street, from what we've seen, has decreased a bit, and we've worked to do that in different ways. I mean, we have a lot of different options now in terms of transitional living that we can offer people. There are a lot more safe haven beds available to individuals who are street homeless, and these are sort of lower threshold facilities that are more attractive to people who may be shelter resistant, and who haven't gone to who don't want to go to the more traditional sort of city shelters. We also have, other beds that have opened up. Stabilization beds is what they're called. These are also, again, low threshold beds that are very, accessible. They're single rooms. There's services on site. So, a lot of different options have been made available that have helped us as an outreach team and the other providers to really kind of bring a lot of folks inside that are street homeless. And I think, something I point out to a lot of folks too is, you might see someone on the street panhandling, or, they might look like they're out there sleeping on the street. And, many times, you'd be surprised folks are either permanently housed, or they have a transitional bed, or they're working with a team. So sometimes, perception is sort of, the public sees it, one way, and they may not necessarily know the behind the scenes stuff that's going on with the teams and how we're working with individuals. But it's always a challenge. It's ongoing, and we're always sort of figuring out new ways and creative ways to tackle the problem and tackle the issue.
When we talk about your outreach team, they are front and center, boots on the ground across the city, dealing with the issue of the homeless. Talk to us about it, because you're a 24/7 on call and have the ability to meet needs. So when the outreach team is out there, walk us through what that looks like for those who are being dispatched out to service the community.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we are a 24-hour team, as you mentioned, 7 days a week. We pride ourselves in sort of being like the mailman. We're always out there, no matter what the weather is, no matter what the conditions are. we strive to deliver the services, and we have teams out, on morning, day, evenings, overnight. And our goal is really, we just cover the Bronx, so we really try to split up the borough in half, and we kind of concentrate. We have one team, sort of on the east side of the Bronx, and one team on the west side of the Bronx. And we kind of go north and south, and we try to hit areas where we know folks congregate, and then we try to also look for new locations, or people that might be, new in a particular area. You look for different things. You look for, sometimes you might see, sort of holes in fences, or you might see tents, or you might see something, that kind of gives you a clue that there might be activity somewhere. And we go into all public spaces, whether it's, under a highway somewhere or off the side of the road. So it's definitely work that, is challenging, and we make sure to be safe in how we do it. But what we strive to do is not just like, it's not about, I often say it's not like this fast food service kind of job, in the sense that we don't just walk up to someone and say, hey, do you want to come inside, and then they just jump in the car and we go. We wish it would be that easy, but it's really about building rapport and sort of getting to know the folks that are on the street, many of whom have had bad experiences or have had traumatic events happen to them in their lives. They have mental illness, they have substance use disorders, and you have to build a lot of trust in order to get that person to decide to come inside and accept services. So really what our outreach team does as the frontline team is they go out there and they really try to build those relationships. And then once we can get that person to, feel more comfortable with us, then we can sort of take it to the next level and work on case management, maybe get them to take a bed somewhere. And then we can start to really work on the issues that are going on, and potentially get them into permanent housing.
And so, as the work continues, talk to us about where we're going now. I know that there's a lot of concern, particularly for New Yorkers with the eviction moratorium, of possibly even seeing more people ending up on the street. But we also know, as a result of that, a lot of people have engaged in substance abuse and mental health that are that are triggers behind this COVID pandemic. So talk to us about how you're dealing with the issue of mental health, substance abuse, and tackling that, because that's a great, well, I don't want to say great, but that's a part of what goes on with a lot of those who are in the homeless community.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, one of the biggest things that we can offer, besides just outreach and access to beds and those kind of services, we also do have a psychiatrist that works with us, and actually a couple of psychiatrists who can go out with us into the field and conduct evaluations and provide treatment. And we also have a medical director that goes out with us, to also provide sort of that street medicine, aspect to our team, where we can, a lot of the individuals we serve, many times they're undiagnosed, whether it's with mental health issues or, they haven't seen a doctor in years. And so part of our approach is to try to, get someone out to them. If the issue is that they don't want to come to, with us, then we want to bring the service to them to really try to get that goal accomplished, because, there's a lot of mental health issues. And I think specifically with those that are severely mentally ill, who could be a danger to themselves or to others, we want to make sure that we're assessing those folks properly, and that we're trying to provide, the right course of action, whether that means, potentially hospitalizing someone, or, some other method to try to address what's going on with them. Obviously there's been some cases in the news, and we've seen, some terrible things happen with folks who are severely mentally ill. And, our jobs is to try to really assess those folks and make sure that they're safe. But, I think a lot of what also goes on is on the hospital end, where, that's where we find some difficulty. And I think with folks with mental illness, I think if the system worked better, I think that, we would have more success. In terms of substance abuse, I mean, we offer medication assisted treatment for those who are using opioids. That's something that we can offer someone. It's a treatment that, we can quickly provide someone with. We can start them on this medication, on Suboxone, and that will, that entices a lot of folks as well to sort of come inside. We kind of offer it as a package deal. It's like, hey, we can get you on this medication to help you with your substance use disorder, and we can also offer you a room, and kind of combine those things. And it's helped out, in a lot of cases, to convince folks to come inside and to try to get sober, or at least reduce the harm that they're causing themselves.
Yeah. Well, one, we have to leave it there, but I want to thank you so much for sharing a little with us about the work that BronxWorks is doing ongoing, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, right there on the streets of New York, trying to help our New York City homeless to a better way of life. Thank you so much for the work that you're doing, Juan, and thank your team over there at BronxWorks.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and we appreciate you highlighting the work.
All righty. Well, I want to let our viewers know, if you want more information about this, you can go to BronxWorks.org, and you find out about the homeless unit, as well as many of the other services that they provide. We do have more show. We encourage you to don't go anywhere. Open is continuing right after this.